Hello, my name is Jodi Drinkwater. I'm a filmmaker, and I have been working on a film project for about 3 years. It's called the Land of Tranquil Light YouTube channel. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I called this morning. This is September, I believe, 23rd, Friday, 2016. It's about noon right now. I'm sitting in my car in a parking lot, and I came to Santa Fe 8 years ago. I'm originally from western Kansas, Garden City, Kansas. Hey, Garden City, Kansas. I lived the majority of my adult life in Wichita, Kansas, and one night I had a dream. It was really a vision for me to come to Santa Fe. I'd only driven through Santa Fe once, and this vision was so vivid that I decided I would go to Santa Fe and would live in Santa Fe to pursue my dreams as an artist that I didn't really know I had until I had that vision, although I had always been an artist of one form or another. And for 10 years I dreamed and fantasized and tried in certain ways to get to Santa Fe, until finally one day, it was actually my children, Sydney and Bo, who turned to me and said, "Mom, you have to go to Santa Fe." And I did. I struck out on my own in my car, shoving everything I could, leaving everything else behind, my plants, my pets, my children, so that I could come here and have this dream. That was over 8 years ago on December 9th. And I got here, and things instantly became very, very difficult for me. And things that were once easy for me became impossible for me in Santa Fe. The one thing I did do was I encountered Nichiren Buddhism, and I started to chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo for the peace and happiness of all living beings. By the time I left Wichita, I was already highly educated, despite my childhood that was very extreme in a lot of ways. And in that childhood, I had been extremely discouraged from continuing any higher education. And because I'm a very, very independent and rebellious person, I pursued my education with a lot of struggles, including a severe mental illness. And that was later diagnosed as complex post-traumatic syndrome or disorder. And I was able to get a bachelor's degree with high honors, highest honors, summa cum laude, in fact. After trying for about 10 years, I did get a bachelor's degree. I went into my higher education with a lot less resources and skills than other people had. I had more intelligence probably and talent than other people, but I had way fewer skills and background to help me in that education and support and stuff. Then I went on and got my Master's of Fine Arts degree thanks to the TRIO programs at Wichita State University, and was able to get that Master's of Fine Arts degree in creative writing and poetry with distinction and high pass, the highest honors you can get for that degree. And when I came here, I had that, and I was struggling primarily with housing, and found myself repeatedly living in my car despite various jobs I would get for short amount of time, or apartments I could get for short amounts of time. And finally I did find my way back to college, which was at Santa Fe Community College, and I just loved it there. At first I was really uncomfortable, but I adapted to it. I was in the gallery management program, and I did receive my degree from there with high honors, and I think it's actually technically highest honors, and I'm very, very particular about my grades. But I did start to run into problems of sexism and kind of abuse of power by certain administrators and who happened to also be my instructors there. But I tried really hard and ended up not really following through on speaking out against any of that stuff. And I ended up in the film department. And I did get my degree, again with high honors, which may be highest honors again, with a film degree, associates in applied science. That's both of those degrees. But whenever I was in the film department, I started coming up against a lot of discrimination against me and witnessing it against other students. So I took it upon myself, being very articulate and outspoken, to speak out against those things. And eventually I've been completely banished from Santa Fe Community College because of my role as the one-time self-appointed liaison between the students and the administration. Later, and during this time, I've been on disability for my disability, living in my car, sometimes moving into housing, sometimes being evicted from that housing. A lot of this story actually includes my husband, who I met in the film department, but he's not interested in being on this film clip right now. So I'm kind of leaving him out of it because I don't want to speak for other people, because I don't like it when they do that for me, you know. And one of the things that happened about 3 years ago is I decided to do a film project along with my husband, where we began to creatively document our lives and create a new genre of art, which I've been accused of doing in the past. And I started documenting the injustices that were occurring in my environment. We're also comedians, so a lot of it is comical, a lot of it is, I think all of it's comical, to be honest, and a lot of it is very, very entertaining and unique. It's different from anything else on the web. We started a production company called Vanilla Agave Productions, and we started the web series The Land of Tranquil Light YouTube channel. And in it, we've come up with a very, very small but very, very devoted number of fans. So we are appealing to a small audience right now, but that audience is very, very devoted to our story, and they really believe in us too. And along the way, what's happened is lately we've been evicted from the place where we lived, in a gallery studio space here in town. And actually at 2nd Street Studios, Wayne Nichols is the owner of that place. And he evicted us, which it seemed to us that it was against his will and better judgment. He didn't even want to do it. He was very, very sad about it. But one of the things that happened is he ended up keeping money that was supposed to be returned to us, and all of our hard-earned art, furniture, clothing, costumes. It was called the Land of Tranquil Light Gallery, a film studios, gallery, and performance space. And we've documented all of these injustices along the way, not just the ones that are happening to us, but other homeless people, because we have the benefit of having film equipment, and we've been posting it for the world. And in fact, we've been trying to communicate with people in positions of power who have the ability to change what's happening in the New Mexico communities with regards to mentally ill homeless people in particular, but other things too, because I am personally very devoted to changing the injustices in our society. And because I'm devoted to changing the injustices of our society, it contributes a lot to the situation that I'm in. I could probably be quiet, probably assimilate better, and have a lot more stable life, but I'm unwilling to do that and exchange my own safety and security and allow other people to continue to suffer. So I'm not willing to do that, even though people have even asked me to. I'm not willing to do that. That's not fair. It's not right. I'm a bodhisattva of the earth and a votary of the Lotus Sutra. And because of that, I don't just have a responsibility to attain enlightenment in this lifetime, but I have the responsibility to save all living beings. And people have told me, you can't save other people, and maybe that's true, but I can certainly try. So I've called today to try to set up an appointment to meet with you, because I really want to talk to you, Chief Gallagher, about these issues. And I was told that you would be given certain information upon which to make this decision. And I want to talk to you personally, because you can't really make a decision about whether or not to meet with me without talking to me. I'm a pioneer member of the MIHO program. I learned about the MIHO program when I turned on the radio one day, and my husband was actually in what I call prison at the time. And I heard you talking about this MIHO program, and I became interested in it. And appropriately, the next day I went to my trauma counselor, my crisis trauma counselor, and he said, at a local trauma center, and he said, your situation is so severe, Jodi, you need to be a part of this program. And I'm like, the MIHO program? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, I just heard about that yesterday. And he's like, you need to get connected right now to that. So he himself called to get me connected to my counselor. And my counselor is Ramas Satsi, and he's great. He's a wonderful person. He cares about the homeless. And he's been supporting me primarily just by listening to me when I call him with one stressful thing after another that's happening in my life. And not only were we evicted from our gallery, and our money was kept from us, and all of our not our equipment, but our property, which was a lot of property for a couple homeless people, because we can acquire things. The universe gives us really, really, really beautiful things, and they were kept from us, and they've never been returned, and no attempt has ever been made to be returned. So we went up into the mountains and got our old RV, our old decrepit RV, back out of the mountains, which is impossible to live up in the mountains in an RV, by the way, because of the weather and the difficulty in getting to and from town. We have lots of footage of us being stranded or trying to get up there, not being able to get up there, having to spend the night in our car in snowstorms and stuff like that. Very, very, very stressful on our relationship. All of this is very stressful on my marriage that I care very, very deeply about. It's very important to me, and I'm trying to keep it intact while the universe or the life or this society we live in is constantly attacking it. And so we moved this RV down, and we lived for a while in Sam's Club parking lot, and we were eventually told, you have to leave. And so we went to Walmart, and the next day they said, you have to leave. So we drove to Belen, New Mexico, and my husband went into the Walmart there and asked permission for us to live in our RV there for a few days. They gave him unreserved permission to do that. And one day we went to the library. That's where we go to upload our videos that we call clips. And we were on our way home when I looked up and saw our RV being towed down the road by a tow truck, and it was impounded, and they told us we couldn't have any of our property, our food, our clothes, our books, our what we have left of our costumes, musical instruments that weren't in our car, and that we were not allowed legally to have it back because our name wasn't on the title. And part of my disability is that I cannot follow through on paperwork. And in part, that's because I'm always running hither and yon from parking lot to parking lot and losing everything along the way, and losing my memory and sometimes my mind along the way. So I can't keep track of that stuff. And we fully believe that my name was on the title, and they did allow us to go in and find the title, and my name wasn't on it, and they kicked us out and threatened to call the police. So we spent the night in Walmart in Albuquerque, and then headed on back to Santa Fe, not knowing where else to go, because we were going to Truth or Consequences, where we could afford to rent a space and have some electricity and heat and warmth during the winter and that was destroyed when they legally stole all of that property. And so we came back here and drove directly to the South Side Library, and we were there 10 minutes before the security guard came running out of the library, screaming at us, telling us to leave that property within 5 minutes or they would be calling the police. We have a very, very complex history with the police, by the way. We could go into great detail about this, but I'm giving you the general rundown of it. And so I did yell back. I got out of the car and I said, "What is this about?" And the security guard accused my husband of looking into an employee car with an intent to steal. And I said, "That is absolutely not true. That's ridiculous, in fact. We wouldn't steal from somebody's car. We're already in such a precarious situation. We would never do that. Not even if we weren't in a precarious situation. That's absurd." And so I did yell back, "We are innocent. We've got a lot of this stuff I'm talking to you about on film. We are innocent. This is evil to make people leave. This is evil. This is wrong. We are innocent. You can't just wrongly accuse somebody and threaten to call the police." We drove away, though, because the police will take us, throw us in jail, and then we'll go to some trial and find out that we have no rights, and we're tired of doing that. It's easier to just run away from these people who don't give us a chance to even defend ourselves with words. Defend ourselves as our rights as human beings in this society and on this planet. And so I did call, I think her name is Leslie Simmons, the director of that library, and she did apologize. But an apology isn't enough. These things need to change. I've talked to Judge Vigil when I was in there with fines and fees that are eating away at my disability that I can't afford to pay. And I told her, I asked, may I approach the court? And she allowed me to speak. And I said, I've been here for several days now, watching what's happening in this courtroom, and the primary people in this courtroom are people of color, women, members of oppressed groups, mentally ill, disabled people, physically and mentally disabled people who are saying it outright to the judge, and the poor. And I said, this weighs heavy on my heart. This needs to change. She said that she's too working on getting that changed, and I can only trust that she is working on that. This is a real problem, and I heard you when I heard you on the radio say you care about these issues. You said that being homeless is not a crime. So I'm asking you to allow us or me to have a meeting with you to talk about these things. I talked to my counselor about it, and he encouraged me to talk to you. And he said, my Miho counselor, and he said, you have a very an important burden and ability to speak to people about these issues. I encourage you to do that. And he is working with the same people I'm advocating for, and he cares about them too. And I think a lot of people in our city do care about them. They just don't know how to help. And I think I might have some ideas as to how to help, and how to help the police that they're so vulnerable right now. I want to protect the police too. Right now, the police in Albuquerque are killing homeless people. They're shooting them. They've pulled their guns on, I'll say, members of my family. Like, not just one. Completely unarmed members of our family. And my family is having to go to trial over these things and potentially go to prison over a variety of very complex things. It's not easy to communicate the details of these things. But all of it is out of desperation, trying to end our situation of being homeless and mentally ill, and help the other homeless mentally ill in our communities, our New Mexico communities. So, yes, I am a producer and filmmaker. I am a multi-talented artist, a painter, a writer, a playwright, a poet, a photographer, a cinematographer, a puppet maker, a puppeteer, a musician, a comedian, a performer, and I'm good at all of these things. And I'm an interior designer, I'm a makeup artist, a lighting designer. I'm all of these the very things that Santa Fe says it's about. And I'm being marginalized over and over and over, kept from the institutions that should be hiring me for a position where I could teach and have a fulfilling life and give and help to fulfill other people's lives. Instead, they're going contrary to my rights as a human being, my legal rights, my federally protected legal rights as a human being, and banishing me from this campus and other institutions and even places of business, and being forced from place to place just to try to survive, when I should actually be in a position where I'm thriving and contributing to society. And I need people in positions of power who do have a heart, who do care about not just legal issues, but moral and ethical issues. And I believe that that's you, Chief Gallagher. I believe that that is you. And I hope that I am right, because you said that being homeless is not a crime. Then please, have these people stop treating us like criminals. And more than that, give us a place in this society where we can have what we deserve and we can help and benefit society. And please do that by meeting with me or me and my husband, should he decide to do so. And allow us to really talk to you heart to heart. We are talking about all of these things in our film project, and we have been known to bring our cameras into situations where we want to document the response of people who are just straight up being silly. They're overreacting. You know, they're being silly and unjust and immoral. And we have to bring our cameras in as guerrilla filmmakers at times to document this stuff. We won't bring a camera in to meet with you. I really genuinely want you to hear us. I want to create change here. It's not going to benefit anybody if we make you look like a fool and don't make any headway. I'm not trying to make you look like a fool. I'm not trying to make anybody but the fools and ourselves look like a fool. But all of this stuff is very foolish, and we want you to hear about it because it's hurting our society. It's hurting Santa Fe. And I think in the end, whether or not we are ever supported in Santa Fe, the world is going to hear what we have to say, you know. So it will behoove the people in power to listen to us, even if they don't like us, even if they don't like what we're saying. We're good people, we have good hearts, we have totally pure intentions.